Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to our webinar on Pega Collection. So, uh, Pega Constellation. Constellation is the next gen UX architecture that's changing how enterprises build applications, less time spent on UI customization, more focus on business logic and processes. So Constellation moves from customization to the configuration, making development faster and more efficient. So I'm Manju. I head the customer success at Insulas, and along with our global practice head Shekhar, we will walk you through how Constellation speeds up development, improves user experience, and drives business agility. So let's get started. And also, in this particular session, we'll explore the key features, best practices, the real world use cases of Pega Constellation, showing you how to maximize its value for your enterprise. So stick around for greater and experts insights from Shekhar, and also this could be a demo and also an interactive Q&A session. So let's get started. So welcome Shekhar for this webinar.
Hi, Manju.
Hi. So let's get started with the very first question, a very basic one. What is Pega Constellation and what are its key benefits of Constellation?
Sure, Manju. Pega Constellation is a modern UI system, I would say, that helps to build the application easier and faster with low code. So, it uses the latest UI technology, allowing along with the ready-made components and templates. So we don't require to start right from beginning or right from scratch. So with this model-driven approach, right, we can design the applications much more faster and efficient way. So I would say Constellation is changing the way we build, the Pega apps by using a center-out architecture, making the application design, more scalable and efficient. Manju.
So in a
So when it,
nutshell,
yeah.
yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, I was about to
So
add some.
sure, Manju. So when it comes to benefits, right, there are many benefits. So, I can highlight few of the benefits. One is the low code UI development. So unlike the traditional UI, the Constellation, right, it focus more on configurations rather than customizations. So as it comes with the pre-built templates and components, so we spend less time on manual UI work. So this is the model driven and pattern based approach. It speeds up the development process, Manju. And next benefit, when you see from a key benefits point of view, the next is the architecture. This Constellation, right? It follows a MVC pattern, which uses some microservices, that is, with the stateless architecture. So as it is using a stateless architecture, this makes the application, modular, scalable, and adaptable whenever any business goes. I mean, if there is any business goes and all. So next is in terms of performance. So when it comes to the performance, right, improved performance. When I say improved performance, meaning since the Constellation runs on the client side, all the UI rendering it happens directly in the browser side. So this makes the application faster, smoother, and more responsive. Manju. And next benefit is about user experience. So as I mentioned, right, Constellation it provides ready-made UI, ready-made UI components, right, and it works seamlessly together. So this ensures the consistent user experience across different channels, whether they're accessing it from mobile or any other devices. So the seamless, I would say it's a seamless multi-channel experience. The user can see it all. So last is about the upgrade. So we can say it's a seamless upgrade. When I say seamless upgrade, meaning the Pega handles the upgrade automatically. So whenever we do upgrade, a lot of challenges in terms of fixing the UI components, UI issues, and also
Yes.
when it comes to the Constellation, yeah. So that will not be updating in the application is much simpler. So this minimizes the rework and effort when we do the new upgrade versions and all. Manju.
So, in a nutshell, what you're saying is it moves away from the traditional UI customization by dragging and dropping stuff and etc. Right? So, in a section that we used to drag and drop a lot of elements, so it's going to be a model-driven API first approach, right? And then a faster development with low code, maybe with an app studio depending upon the data model of the case, it actually builds its own UI, which is consistent, responsive user experience across all the channels or devices, right? And also, I could say that there is a minimal tech debt, which is one of the main upgrade issues that we were seeing as part of the UI, right, from Theme Cosmos or UI Kit. So, and also, maybe improved collaboration between the business and IT, right? So that's what you're trying to say. It's a very good technology for sure. So
Yes.
moving on to the next one with respect to your experience, right? What is a major transformation in application development with respect to Constellation compared to the traditional UI architecture?
Sure, Manju. So the Constellation, right, it uses a center-out architecture, meaning we focus on the business outcome and customer journeys first, instead of focusing on the technical details or underlying systems. So if you ask me, right, the big shift, this is a big shift from a traditional approach. So in a past, right, what will do it out is actually, yeah, in the traditional applications, right, the business logic and data were tightly linked or coupled to UI sections, and action sets were triggered whenever the task is to be initiated and all. So this makes harder to maintain or scale when it comes to scalability and all. So because everything has been closely connected or coupled and all. So with Constellation, right, as UI is separate from business logic and data, so this makes the application more flexible and scalable. Since this UI and logic are independent, we can update or maintain one without affecting other and all. So if you ask me, right, the shift in the development here is, in traditional, what we normally do it out is we can design and build any UI we wanted, right, using sections of harness, right. So that's the way we used to, follow on all. So whereas in Constellations, we can, quickly achieve any business outcome, using Constellation. Let the Constellation takes care of, creation of UI, UX rules, Manju. That's what I would say. So when it comes to the Constellation, again, there are two different aspects, different from traditional one. One is in Constellation, we used to say as outcome-based design. So when I say outcome-based design is, so the configuration approach in Constellation, right, it focus on business outcomes rather than just adding, features and all. So using App Studio, what we'll do is, we will configure the business process and, based upon the outcome, right, the business need and all, let the system generate the rules automatically. So that is an outcome-based design. Next is the business-oriented data modeling. When I say data modeling, yes. So always, in Constellation, we'll start the modeling the data in App Studio, and we define the business entities, and we define the relationships and attributes and all. So this creates a data model which is aligned with the business structure. So which helps to simplify the UI development, Manju. So these are the two aspects which is totally different from the traditional way. So here I want to highlight one point that yes, App Studio is the recommended for Pega application development, but I would say it's not mandatory for each and everything. So the hybrid approach, the combining both App Studio and Dev Studio can be more efficient to build the application. Yes, so that's how we can do it out, Manju.
So I could really see that from this diagram, right? Whereas traditionally we used to build the UI using the section-based rules, and now the Constellation is actually, it has got presentation layer, mapping layer, and orchestration layer within, so that the model-driven the UI is dynamically generated based on the case data or the whatever the case properties we might have, and that enables faster time to market with pre-built templates and patterns. Maybe it can also reduce a lot of efforts in terms of UI customization, and right, and also it is, I could really see there is a REST API in between. It is a API driven, maybe a headless UI integration, I can say, for better scalability in terms of the UI stuff, which is a great stuff. I think this diagram clearly explains the traditional versus Constellation components, right? So having said this, right? So what are the various UI options available within the Constellation itself? So moving ahead from
Sure.
that you are showing here, So are there any UI options available?
Sure, Manju. There are different options for building and expanding, the user.
The Constellation applications, I would mean, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So some of the out of box, the Constellation channels or the web portal, right? So this is a standard portal. We designed mainly, designed for business users to manage the complex workflows. So mainly, focus on collaboration, data access, and real time processing and all. Manju. Next is the web self-service portal. So this is mainly designed for occasional tasks or it offers a simple or guided experience for for employees or for customers. It's easy to use and all. So using self-service portal, yeah, we can build it. The third option is the web embed. So which is which allows us to embed a Pega UI components into other web pages. This is mainly for extending Pega's functionality without affecting existing system and all. So this web is something we know the web mashup, right? So this is something the same thing. So now it's called as a web embed. Next is the Pega mobile channel. So which helps to deliver the Pega applications on the mobile devices, providing smoother and responsive user experience on on phones or smartphones or tablets. Manju. So yes, while the best practices is to use out-of-box configurations, the Constellation, right, also lets us to extend the system whenever any specific business needs arise and all. So for that, right, we have two things which is available in the Constellation. One is I would say the Constellation DX components. So mainly this is for these are like individual components where which can be built using React. So we can create a new components that we can integrating with the existing ones, which helps to improve the the user experience, which is in line with the customer branding style and all. Manju. So this is custom DX components. Next is Constellation SDK. So this is mainly for more complex UIs where there might be a requirement that the application has to be compliant with the client branding and design system. So in that case, SDKs would be the right choice. Where using SDKs, there are three SDKs which are available. One is Angular, React, and Web Components. So mainly this is something which is built built using this SDK and in lining with the client design system.
So I think that's a great option. I know the one that actually attracted me is Constellation SDK, where you want to still provide a full case view for a external user, where they might have a different website as a bank or as a government. So they can interact with your case management platform using the Constellation SDK, right? Unlike we used to have what the Pega mashup was a choice, like 5.5 or 6.x or 7.x versions, right? So now we have the Constellation SDK or even the web embed or also web service portal that is available as part of the Constellation. So I think I'll go back one step, behind, and then ask you, can you tell me about Constellation US architecture? Like, because we wanted to understand how that it actually works in real time in terms of what are the different components available, how it actually interacts. Because what I'm hearing is an API-driven Constellation mechanism, right? I just wanted to understand how does this really works. Yeah. So you have a diagram. That's great.
Sure, Manju. So yeah, so yes, we have a diagram. So in the center, you can see there is a Constellation design system and alternate design systems. So the Constellation design system, as we discussed about the Constellation. So this is a Pega built UI framework that combines the Constellation presentation components with Pega's DX components. It provides ready-to-use elements like buttons, labels, I would say text boxes, which helps to making the development faster. So that's what we discussed about this Constellation, right? It helps in easier with low code and model-level approach. So next is alternate design system. So this system is for the business that needs more flexibility. So I was saying about this SDK and all, right? So this is useful for more complex UAs, especially when there is need to follow the client-specific branding and design system, which I mentioned. So using a Constellation SDK, we can integrate with the front-end technologies like Angular, React, and Web Components. So these are the two design system. The main difference between these two systems is the Constellation offers a standardized UI with built-in Pega components, while alternate design system, it allows us to do a customization using external design frameworks. So this is the main difference between the two design system. So in the diagram, right, you can see at the bottom, right, where we have a Pega Infinity server. As everyone knows, the Pega Infinity server, yes, it's a core engine, that handles the business logic, case management, and workflows. It also provides a Constellation DX API. So if you see the Constellation DX API, right, Constellation DX API, which enables or helps enables the view-based UI development by providing a metadata of the elements like layouts, actions, and scaling menu. So it's built on the RESTful architecture with JSON, and it uses a OAuth as a security. It as I mentioned, right, works in a stateless way. So it helps to scale and easy to integrate Manju. So that is about the Constellation DX API. So above that, right, you can see the Constellation orchestration layer, right? So this layer is about it's a kind of a JavaScript engine, Manju, so that
Mhm.
manages how the UI works and how the the data flow, and how the application controls the behavior in Pega. It's access the component UI component. It's sorry, it's access a bridge between UI components and Pega, which ensure in everything runs smoothly. So there are many features or several features which are available in the Constellation orchestration layer. Some of the things are like it acts like a JavaScript API, which includes our P-Core and P-Connect APIs, which allow us developers to control how the UI interacts with Pega and all. And also one of the features is it provides a flexible way and works in any UI component, not just only with React or Angular. So all these things are takes care by Constellation orchestration layer. And also it supports the client side caching, and it handles the garbage collection at the client side, and then it helps for the debugging tools to make the development easier and Manju. So this all these things, there are many features. Some of the features which are highlighted Manju here. So next is you can see the Constellation presentation components. So when I say Constellation presentation components, so the core UI building blocks for consistency, and then for maintainability in the Constellation applications, Manju. This is focused mainly on Pega-centric data and UI elements without any business logic. So these components, remains independent, right? Which is simple, and it's not extensible enough. So to ensure the uniformity. So the developers can find more details about this Constellation presentation components in the design.pega.com. So I mean, most of the folks might already know it. So design.pega.com, right? So next is the Constellation design component, Constellation DX components. I think we touched upon the Constellation DX components, right? This mainly, allowed the developers to create a custom and purpose-specific UI elements that extend, the Pega low-code UI library or any design system. So in the Constellation design system, right, we have a presentation components and DX components, right? Similar way in alternate design system also we have presentation and DX components. Only thing is the in alternate design system is more of a clients centric design systems, where the client based upon the client requirement, they will be creating those the presentation layers and all. So in left hand side, you can see the Constellation static services. Mainly, it helps to load the static services, or we used to call it as a CDN. It helps to load the core UI assets like CSS, or I would say JavaScript, or any images quickly, reducing a delays and all. Manju. This CNN, right, it's for mainly for, as I said, right, load the core UI assets. So in case if any clients they have any restrictions on internet connectivity of the server and all, then it can be hosted in their environment as well. Okay, so for the Pega static services. Next is Constellation application static services. Mainly this handles the application specific content, like the custom branding, or images, or it allows for personalized UI elements, Manju, in the Pega application. Next, you can see the Constellation messaging services. Mainly, it manages the real-time, updates and notifications, which helps to ensure the smooth communication between the core engine and UI components. So these are the supporting services. There's three supporting services, Manju. So you can see next is the finally you can see that DX custom builder and SDK pack. So these are for as we already touched upon about this custom DX components and SDK pack. These are the components which helps to create the customized components. So overall, right, I would say this Constellation design system, right, it offers a comprehensive, flexible and scalable solution, building modern Pega application, Manju, combining low code development with power of UI components, which just helps to seamless in integration across the different technologies, Manju.
So that's a very technological conversation that you had. You explained about a lot of components within this Constellation UX architecture. But what I actually understood. So there are days where we have created some of the headless applications in Pega, where you had a different application layer which is handling only the user interface. That means you have maybe a Java application that the UX is written in maybe an Angular or React JS, and then have the respective APIs, which is actually going back to Pega and trying to get those business logic and etc. And then you have two systems actually, right? One is the front end application, the other one is a back end application, which is Pega. Now, what I could actually really see, thanks to Constellation technology, now they have introduced the Constellation orchestration layer, which can talk to the Pega Infinity server using the Constellation DX APIs. That means you can literally get rid of all those API work that what you are doing in the headless application,
Exactly.
right? And also think about the change requirements whenever you add any new field in Pega backend, you have to do the massive change in the front end, including the API changes, right?
API
I think
changes,
those
exactly.
are all got written. I think it's now Constellation itself follows a headless, API-driven approach that you can create, or of course, it actually renders using the DX APIs, whatever the information that you receive as part of the JSON that includes the metadata of the HTML components and whatever that it needs to be displayed, right? So thanks to Constellation architecture, that's what I understood. And for I'm not actually not talking about the other components, but in general, this is what it does, right? Can I
Correct.
actually take that as a go ahead of those whatever the type statements of headless application?
Yes, Manju. Yes, you're right. The Constellation, the DX APIs, right? It's drastically changed the way how the API have been written for the traditional way front end headless applications are now. Yes.
So that means the backend provides case processing and logic via those DX APIs or conversation DX APIs. And the front end is really built using React, rendering UI dynamically based upon the data as a JSON data that you receive from these APIs, right? And of course, there is a constellation SDK and all those things that you can embed as part of the alternative design system. Okay, so this actually eases a lot of headache in terms of having the sexy UI, what we used to call it as. So for that only, we used to go for headless application, right? So now I just wanted to also touch base upon what are the design component changes in Constellation over the traditional UI UX architecture.
Okay, sure, Manju. In Constellation, right, some of the traditional Pega platform components, it works differently, leading to changes in design process. So maybe, I'll show a slide so that will give a clear idea, right? So one is, you can see first is the user actions. In traditional way, the action sets on the UI elements. So, here in Constellation, no more action sets in the, in the UI elements, right? Actions are modeled in the cases in that. So if you see from advantages point of view, right, the centralized management of actions in the cases in that, right, it simplifies the development process, so improving the maintainability, and it helps in consistency across the application. So next part is about the core UI structure. When I say core UI structure, So in traditional way, we use sections and harness to, we combine the data and business logic and presentation, everything, we used to do it out in sections and harness. Whereas in Constellation, we should go and use the view rules. So view rules, separate the data and it's from, certain business logic for the structured presentation template, Manju. So if you see from advantages point of view, yes, view rules, right? It decouples UI from business logic. So that helps to make the application more modular and easier to maintain it, Manju. Third is about the UI controls.
Earlier, I think,
So in
I
tradition,
just want to stop you here. So what you're saying
okay,
is you cannot have the buttons everywhere, wherever you wanted to have
no,
drag and drop buttons. That is ruled out. And
correct,
also, I think we used to write, something, hey, if this page has something, and then a lot of when condition using maybe non-HTML generated stuff. And so I'm just going back in my 6.x and 7.x versions, right? So you cannot have all those things,
no.
right?
Yes.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. So when it comes to UI controls, as you rightly said, drag and drop controls, so sections and all, right? So here, using the views, right, the system automatically, selects the best default, the field type and controls for each field, right? So system automatically generate. So this helps to reduce the manual effort and, which helps to faster the UI development module. Next is data model. So in traditional way, right, linking any layouts to data sources such as data pages, right, without adding them to a, case data model, we can, include into the sections. Whereas in Constellation, right, the data model is being created in the case, then only, we can present it accordingly. If you see from advantage perspective, aligning the data model with the case structure, right, it reduces the, I would say, redundancy, and it helps in making, the easier and modifying the UI, Manju. Next is reports. So normally, we use the report definitions and report browser, right, for generating any reports in traditional way. Whereas in Constellation, we use insights. So insights is mainly for interactive charts and all. So the advantages of using insights is insights, it provide more interactive and the modern way of displaying the exploring data and all. So this is a big difference from reports point of view. Next is highly customizable UI controls, right? So as you already mentioned about the custom components and non auto-generated section rules, HTML rules and all, right? We used to write it out in the Constellation, the traditional way, right? So here we cannot go and write it out. So if you wanted to touch upon anything, right, then we should use a custom DX components. So already, we discussed about custom DX components, and unless until it is really required for that particular project to be implemented, then only, it's go ahead and we should go ahead and use it, or else, we should follow the best practices of Constellation and then try to use the OTD one, Manju. So extending this UI, if you see advantages point of view, right, why we need to go for DX components is extending this UI using a DX component, right? It's kind of a reusable asset, right? When you build some kind of a DX components. So next is about the presentation list of data. So mainly this is for repeating dynamic layouts or table layouts in traditional way. Whereas in Constellation, right, we use list views on, we can configure with the tables. There are, the galleries and timelines. So we use the list views and insights to enhance, the flexibility of presentation layer. Mainly, it helps in terms of presenting the data. Next is data sourcing. So when I say data sourcing in a traditional way, right, the clipboard pages or data pages are linked to section rule or pages in classes. So views, when it comes to the Constellation, right, the views now can refer the data pages directly. So if you see from advantages point of view, right, it simplifies the data sourcing and the integration, UI integration between, by linking, data pages directly with the views, right. It enables more efficient management of dynamic data. Next is themes. Yeah, in traditional way, we use skins, custom CSS, and we use a lot of inline styles, because this is one of the inline styles a lot of developers they use with the Godless warning and all, right? So in Constellation, we should use the branding tools in App Studio for theming and all, Manju. So the advantages of using this one is, the App Studio branding tools, right? It streamlined the application theming, Manju. So that is a big advantages of going with the, the Constellation one. Next is web embed. I think we discussed, touched upon. In traditional way, we call it as a web mashup, and in Constellation, that is something called use of web embedding. So the web embedding allows much better integration, more seamless user experience compared to the traditional one. So next is the messaging. So in traditional way, we use web socketing and web socketing, right? So whereas in Constellation, there's Constellation messaging services. I think in the architecture, we have discussed about this Constellation messaging services as well, right? So this new messaging services, right, it provides more integrated and out-of-box solutions for pushing notifications and for updating the UI menu. So this is a big difference from the previous web socketing. And export to Excel, we used custom actions for exporting Excel and all. Where in Constellation, right, we need to enable the file export in the list views. Mainly, this is to simplify the export functionality and reducing the need for custom coding. So these are the few of the design components changes from compared to traditional one.
I think I could literally see that it's trying to decouple between the front end and back end instead of having a lot of hand coded the business logic in the UI. Of course, you can still do that using creating a custom DX component.
Correct.
That's what Pega why it is suggesting not to have too many DX components until unless it is required. And also ensure that you follow the safe customization patterns if you are really doing it. The other one is what I was also thinking, Shekhar, right? In order to become a true single page application architecture, right, which is Constellation, which is offering, I think this is where it actually adds value in terms of ensuring there is an exceptional performance compared to the traditional UIs. Maybe, three times faster interaction, seven times faster network payload. So whatever Pega is actually claiming. So this is all possible with only this kind of big shift move from the traditional versus Constellation. So that's a great input, whatever that you have actually shown, how it has actually fundamentally changed from the basic UI elements and how it actually reflects as part of the Constellation. So now we are spoken enough in terms of what are the components, what is Constellation, and all those things. So tell me how for any customer, an enterprise who are using tech applications, right? So what are the different approaches I have to adopt the Constellation? So it cannot be just hey, start with a new Constellation application, because there are some existing application as well, right? And is there anything that you can migrate from an existing traditional UI to Constellation, whether it can coexist? So it's a lot of questions.
Sure, Manju. Sure, Manju. So there are three approaches or three strategies. We can say one is the new applications. So new application mainly this approach helps for quickly building new applications with Pega Infinity for faster results and easy maintenance. So anyway, if any organization wants to meet new business goals, right, or replacing the old application, so this is the approach. So using a Pega GenAI blueprint, right, we can quickly design, lay the foundation for your application, and following the best practices, we can speed up the application. Manju. As we know, Pega GenAI helps turns the ideas into working applications within the no time, right? So we have a lot of sessions on Pega GenAI, right? Yes. So by using this out of box design system, UX design system, that is Constellation, we can quickly build applications. So that is the first approach for the new applications. So when it comes to the second one as the prioritize innovations, when I say prioritize innovation, this is approach is mainly focusing on improving the current application by slowly adding the Constellation features. So instead of rebuilding everything, right, we can upgrade the workflows and add new elements, and we can bring the value to the business. So this is about the prioritize innovations. So as a part of this approach, right, what we can do is we can transform, if there is any existing workflow, right, which is already existing, whether we can think of, whether we can go and create a self-service options for using a, self-service options using a Pega Gen blueprint, or we can create new additional channels and all. So this is mainly, as I said, right? Or we can think of using a web embeds integrating with the constellations and all for any integrations with the website and all. So when it comes to this second strategy or approach, right? There are three. I would say there are three options which is available. One is we can combine the traditional architecture in Constellation with three ways. One is we call it as blended UI. So blended UI is mainly mix traditional UI with constellation in application. So that is the blended UI. Next is coexistence mode. Mainly, this is for gradually transitioning the applications, right? Mainly, this is for cu- Pega customer service application, right? The coexistence mode, that is one option we have it. And last option is, the Pega process fabric. So mainly this is managing the integrations between the multiple applications. So these are the three different options which is available if the customer wants to do incremental way of, doing a prioritization innovations. Manju. And third option from strategically point of view is, uplift existing one. So this approach is mainly for organization, right? They need to do thinking of doing a full application upgrade to meet, the compliance or regulatory standards, Manju. Without, they don't have any, if they don't, no matter of the cost and all, if they are okay to, do the full migration, yes, this uplifting might be suitable for them. So this ensures, the application, right, meets the latest UI security and performance sequence, Manju. So if you want to do this strategy, right, first we need to assess the application to identify what needs to be, updated, right, including data models, integrations, and workflows. So not just like that, we can go for this third approach or third strategy, right? We'll redo everything and all. So the good part is, we have a Constellation modernization assistant which is available in the marketplace. Pega has provided the component using which, right, we can go and check the application readiness. So this helps to see which data and integrations can be, reused, and and also, we can see whether self-service options to improve the efficiency and all, Manju. So these are the three strategies which are available. Yeah.
So to actually just to summarize, just for my simplification, right? So a new implementation, go ahead and start with fresh Constellation UI, right? So
Correct.
that's one thing.
Correct.
And then it could be a hybrid approach. If you have Deep Cosmos application, maybe if you're creating a new case, go ahead and start, maybe a Constellation case kind of a thing, which is going to be like a phase transition from Theme Cosmos to Constellation, which is a hybrid approach. And also, I think blended UI. So you talked about that, where use DX APIs to integrate Constellation with an existing application, right? So I wanted to actually ask you more on that. And also, I think you also brought up a very important topic, which is a migration assistant, which is available as part of Pega accelerators or in the marketplace that is available.
Yes.
Okay, so where you can go ahead and transition legacy application using that migration accelerator straight into the Constellation, right? So this is
Correct.
what. So can you talk about the blended UI concept, Shekhar?
Sure, Manju. When it comes to the blended UI, right, starting from Pega version 23, which helps to allow the applications to mix the UI architecture. So when I say mix the UI architecture, is mainly for the Constellation traditional one. So one has the two approaches again. One is Constellation into traditional UI, meaning we can gradually add the Constellation features to the existing application based on the customer needs, right? This could be a landing pages or, the tables or cases, Manju. So again, this approach, we have two things. One is creating a new Constellation case type in traditional UI. So this is one first aspect, right? We can build the new Constellation case type within the traditional application. So this is the first thing. Next is reuse the Constellation case type. We can, include the existing Constellation case type in your traditional application as an built-on application. So these are the two things which comes as a Constellation in the traditional UI. Next is traditional UI in the Constellation. So when I say traditional UI and Constellation is, Constellation application can be now import, cases and landing pages from, older UI kit and Theme Cosmos application. This is adding a traditional case type to Constellation. Now we can, reuse the traditional case types in Constellation application as a built-on application. So these are the two approaches, which is available as a part of this blended UI. As I said, only thing is, the application has to be there, right, in the Pega version of 23 module, which allows us to use the mix UI architecture.
So can I say like this, like maintain a legacy UI while adopting the Constellation for new cases, right? And utilize the DX APIs to merge the old and new experiences, right? So and then ensure that there is a smooth migration process that takes place, right? So
Yes.
that's the blended UI. So I just wanted to also pick your brain on the migration assistant tool that you talked about, Shekhar. Is there any way that we can see how that actually looks if you have done
Uh,
imported?
Sure, Manju. So I'll just quickly explain what is this migration assistant tool. Then I can showcase it. I can log into another application and with the
Yeah,
developer
that
studio,
would be
and we can
super
show it.
because I wanted to see what's happening, how it actually helps us.
Sure, Manju. So when it comes to the Constellation, the modernization assistant, right? As I said, right, it helps the organization to migrate their Pega applications to support the Constellation UI. So there are two modes which are available. One is the analysis mode and migration mode. So analysis mode mainly, it scans the application, it finds the rules that needs updates and generates Excel, reporting issues, meaning it lists on all the issues. So this helps for the team to do the migration and all. So next is actual migration. So this create a constellation based application on the top of the current one. It updates sections to views and makes the properties at relevant records and all. So when it comes to the phases, right, there are four phases which involved as a part of this migration. One is discovery phase, then next is a prepare phase and migrate and adapt phase. So when it comes to discovery phase, right, this is mainly to understand the existing application and also gain the I would say the application team has to the gain on the Constellation UI knowledge and all. Manju. So the prepper is again as a part of this prepper stage only, will be running this analysis using this Constellation monetization assistant, and will start fixing the critical issues and will prepare the project plan and all. Third is the migrate phase. So this is mainly for migrating the application with the Constellation monetization assistant, and will start fixing the migration issues, and will run the testing and all. Manju, regression testing and all, it comes as a part of this migrate phase. Last is adapt one. Mainly this is to perform performance testing or application handling and deployment to support. So these are the four stages, Manju. So with this, I'll quickly log into application and then I'll show it out. Just give me a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think these are all whatever that you explained as well, visible as part of the tool itself, right? Analysis mode, migration mode, and what are the phases that you have, and etc.
Just right.
So are you gonna share the screen on the? So you are
Yes, yes.
getting into Go Studio. Okay.
Yeah, I'll log into Dev Studio. Just a minute. It's taking some time. So sorry for that. Let me know once you're able to see your screen. Manju.
It's still coming up. So this particular tool is going to identify the UI components, right,
Yeah.
suitable for migration. Maybe if there are any sections out of the traditional UI technology, and then it will actually give you a kind of a constellation template to do it, and
Yes.
maybe and also it could also do an automatic code conversion, right, to minimize the manual effort,
Yeah.
and
So in
also
the
yeah.
Yeah, in the home screen, you can see, right? I'll open this one. We already imported in one of the application. So
Okay.
here you can see, I was saying about analysis and migration, right? So these are the two, two stages which we can do it as a part of this monetization assistant. So already, we run a analysis for this application. So you can see the list of, the rules and all. Manju. Here you can download the list of issues and then you can see it out. So here you can see what sort of issue types, and the team can go through it and then they can check
Oh, it
for
also
each tool
provides what
how they can be
exactly that
fixed.
is needed.
Yes. So and also Pega detailedly provide a list of issues and how to resolve for each issue. Pega already documented very well in terms of how to fix these issues which are highlighting in this monetization assistant module. So that really helps for the anyone go and start fixing those issues, Manju.
So you have issues by type and issue by rule, and you
Yes.
can also
Yeah.
download the. Oh, okay, this
Correct.
is a very comprehensive one
Yeah.
for anyone who is wants to migrate from legacy to Constellation. I think this is the way forward. So what
Correct.
happens if you do not do analysis anymore and then just do migrate my application?
No, that's what if you migrate it, right, will be getting error because there are few, as I said, right, there are few rules which are has to be in line with has to be compliant with the Constellation. So that's the reason, right? It will not allow to create the migration. We cannot, create this migrate
Yeah,
application
so you will
duplicate.
lose all those business logic, whatever that you have put, when rules and all those things that will go for a
Yeah.
toss, and your application may not work what is intended to be,
Yeah.
right?
So we need to fix it out. What are the issues which are highlighting it out? So then, once we fix it out, then we can click on migrate application so that we create a Constellation application, and all the sections will be created with the views and the properties which would be added as a relevant records manager.
I think this is a great tool. I think this is something that long waiting one, right? So they were supposed to launch this much before, maybe the last year. So that's happy to see this accelerator. Maybe hope Pega will also improve. If there is any improvement that needs to be done on this migration
Sure.
as well.
Yeah, I think slowly. I mean, they, as I said, right, they come up with a list of all the issues and what is the fixing for each one. I think they might be working on uh, some more rule types also. Yeah, I guess they might be enhancing this the assistant component. Yeah.
So, Shekhar, I think, so we have spoken about the custom DX components, we've spoken about the Constellation SDK. So, is it possible to showcase some of those DX components? What you, from your experience, why you created that DX component, how to create that DX component? Even though we don't suggest the businesses or even the technology teams to go ahead and create the DX components, from your experience, so throw me a scenario where you have actually gone and created a DX component, right? And then how you created it. Maybe I'm not sure whether you can show that. And also, if we have built any portals using the Constellation SDK, how it actually looks for our audience.
Sure, Manju. So there are two things again, as you said, right? One is the Constellation DX components. So as I said, right, the Constellation comes with the extensive library for out-of-box assets and all, but still, based upon the customer business need, if they really required something more specific, that's where custom DX components comes into picture. So and also the SDK pack we already discussed, right? We developed this excellent portal. I can show the excellent portal also, where we have built excellent portal using SDK pack, which allows users to connect to Pega's case management, and I would say they can work on the case from the Excel portal itself. Manju, first let me share my screen. I can quickly show on the. Just a moment, please.
So the DS component is going to be an extension of the Constellation, your capabilities. I think you have the kind of a static stuff that you showed in the diagram, how to create a DX component using the React.js. So you should have a
Yeah.
React.js expertise to do this, right?
Yes. So I logged. Yes, I logged into this portal. So in one of the applications, so where you can see here, you can see the, you can. There are two things. One is here you can see there is something called carousel. So we used to call it as carousel component. Mainly, this helps to display the notifications or any latest updates in the application. So this has been built using custom DX components, Manju.
So what you're
Okay,
saying
so
is
this.
that enhanced UI card, the search form, is it actually a DX component?
Now, this is something, as I said, right? This is something like a display notifications or latest updates.
Oh,
This is a
the
carousel.
carousel itself you created as part of the DX component. Okay.
Correct, yes, correct, Manju.
So anything that you
And
can
you
say.
can see there is something called, the task. Yeah, Manju, I can show maybe, search customer would be the right one. Maybe this will give a good idea.
Tell me
See,
why
one
you
of the
created this
real-time
DX
use.
component.
Sure, Manju. So actually, the search customer, right? One of the requirement to us is for one of the customer is, so they want to go and do a search customer, when they do a customer search, right, basically they will be, integrating with the Excel system. The Excel system, will return the results, and based upon the customer data, it will return the customer details from Excel system, and the customer details would be shown to them in the screen. Then they will take a call whether the case has to be created or not. So that is one of the use case which we got it, Manju. So in Constellation, right, by default, yes, we need to go and create by default, it'll create a case by default, whenever you want to provide any, forms for it, right, it requires a case and all. So basically the customer requirement is, first they want to do a search. Based upon the customer search result, they can, take a call whether to create a case, right? So that's the reason, right, we come up with this custom DX components, but I'll just quickly show it out. So
So,
here,
so unlike the traditional UI, you cannot just create this UI just by drag and dropping the search bar, search button, and clear button, right?
no.
So you need to have a case to create the UI. That means the system itself will author that particular UI UX based upon the case data and etc. Now you don't have an option without a case that you can create any view, right, or a UI. So now you created this as a search component, and then literally doing all these things using the DX component. Okay.
Actually, one point which I want to highlight it out, as you touched upon the view, right? Yes, if you have any data table, if you want to, show the view of the data table, yes, in OTB, which is available in Constellation One. But it's not like if they want to do a search, and while clicking on a search, we want to, call Excel service and returns has to be shown, then create a case and all. It's not comes as a part of OTB.
Okay, understood.
Okay, so here you can see, right, this is one of the autocomplete is also one of the, we build a custom DX components for, OTB, right? When we use the drop down, right, it pulls all the data, whereas, what we done it out is we using our auto control. When you do a search, right, it filters only the required customer data here, right? So let me do a search here. So you can see, right, the search results have been written. So maybe, I'll click on action. Okay. So this complete all the, the details of customer has been built using a custom DX components, Manju.
So even the search results is a custom DX component.
Exactly. Correct. Yes.
Understood.
So
So what else we have, Shekhar, to showcase? I see. I wanted to actually
sure,
ask you
Manju.
one, right? Um, so
Mhm.
this is DX component. So maybe in the next session, because we are running out of time, maybe if we can go through how to create a DX component, right? So that would be awesome. Maybe we can cover in the next session. So
Sure,
you are
Manju.
showcasing something. Yeah, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Sure, Manju. So I was trying to show the some of the custom DX components which we built for different customers. One of the thing is, I want to quickly show this the Google Map one. So where you can we have created a custom DX components. Maybe I can show this, the slide one, maybe
Right.
the rating
Okay.
one. Yes, and we have this the switch one, and even for we have created some the control for the date and time. So all these things, right, based upon
If I'm not wrong, so even Pega is also creating such DX components and making readily available for the organizations to use. If I'm not wrong, right? So they have the library of DX components that they can simply leverage those reusable components.
yes, Manju,
Or,
but yeah, slowly. I mean, see, if you ask me, right, whatever if you see the constellations, right, still some of the DX components still there. They one by one they are releasing it out and they're working on it, Manju, but not I would say extensively. Currently, it's available. So based upon the customer need, we start building all this things, Manju. So one more thing which I want to highlight it about, as we have touched upon the custom DX components. One of the custom components is action button. So where we I can show it out also because of time constraint I cannot just go through the complete case and then I can show it out. So we come up with the custom DX components where on click of a button we can go and trigger a local action or a flow action, which is not available as a part of Constellation mode. So this is one of, again, it's part of one particular requirement from one particular client where they were asking, one click of a button, they want to call a local action handler. As I said, again, I'm repeating the same thing. So we need to follow the OTB Constellation best practices. But if that is really required from a customer requirement, then only we should go for a custom DX components. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. So do you want to also showcase how it looks on an SDK if you have integrated Constellation SDK?
Uh, sure, Manju. Uh, yeah, sure, Manju. So quickly, I want to show other DX components also. Here you can see
Oh,
here you can see the case card, the work list. So all these things also created a custom DX components. Okay, there are many custom DX components. Maybe because of our time, I'll
I think
just
we'll go through that because I know we wanted to actually even some of our audience wanted to learn how to create a DX component, how that can be imported and etc. So we'll tackle that in a different session. So anything
sure.
else that you need to showcase?
Yes, Manju,
That
I'll show the SDK one. Just give me a
yeah,
minute.
yeah.
I'll quickly share my screen so
I
that you
know we
can.
are running out of time, but our audience is great, so I think
Okay,
they can wait to see what's happening on the
sure,
SDK,
Manju.
right?
Yeah, I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
Yeah,
So
so
this
this
is
portal,
for so this is an external portal, maybe
this is
built on
external
some
portal.
technology. Okay.
Yes, Manju, this is external portal. So here, you can see this my claim, right, and the null claim, all these things, right, has been comes from a bigger, right,
So
using
there is an SDK which has,
exactly
I think, some PCore and APIs that you are,
correct,
embedded into this particular application or a website, right? And then you are trying to
correct.
pull that case information. So if what happens if you open that up, I dash nine
Yeah,
three zero
no,
zero.
I'll just click on the instance climb here. You can see the case, right? So
So
they
the
can go
case
ahead
is
and
getting
create a
created
case.
when you click on insurance
Yes.
claim. Okay.
So what are
So
the previous?
that takes.
So this all the things that comes from Pega. In previously, I was trying to do a search, and then based on the search, I was trying to create a case, right?
Oh,
It's the
the same
same,
case. Yeah.
same one. Yes.
Got it. Got it.
So this is the one I was showing about in the custom DX components and all, right? So this
Oh,
has
this is
been. Yes, Manju.
so the same Constellation portal. So you are actually the case that whatever that was visible. So you're able to also do it through an SDK integration to a different
Exactly.
technology of front end, right? So that's
Yes.
a great stuff, right? So earlier this has to be done using the APIs back and forth. Now Constellation DX APIs are very much available. You don't have to do anything. If you try to add any field over there in Pega as part of the App Studio or Dev Studio, so it automatically reflects in the front end. We don't need to do any deployment. We don't need to do any API changes, no front
Correct.
end changes, nothing, right? It automatically reflects. So one of the
Correct.
great stuff in order to build the self-service portal, I would say,
Yes,
right? I
Manju.
can think of many use cases either in the financial services sector or in the government sector that we have seen, when we are working with Singapore ministries that we had to, give out some of the citizen services on the website, so where we used to do using Pega Mashup, right? Now I think this is a great stuff, great technology that we can simply adhere to the organization standards in terms of theming, coloring, and all those things, and then directly embed as part of the SDK. So that's a great stuff to see, Shekhar. So finally, so as a wrap up, right? What is the one key takeaway for organization from today's session about Constellation? Of course, Constellation technology is great. It's faster. The upgrade issues have been resolved. All those things. What is, according to you, one takeaway that organizations should take?
Sure, Manju. The organizations who are looking to create a new applications, right? Obviously, they should start using the Constellation one UI as it is a modern way of creating applications in a much efficient way. So when it comes to the migration, right? For example, if any clients which they are planning to do migration from traditional one to the Constellation one, so then obviously the proper assessment has to be done. So as I said, right, modernization assistant package which is already available, but anyway, the strategy wise, the end-to-end assistant assessment has to be done. Then only we should take up the right approach. So I would say the Insulas team, we are specialized in developing a constellation-based applications. We have built up multiple applications in constellations, and also we are very good in creating custom DX components, and we are very good in building a SDK pack and all. Manju.
So that's great. I think so. I think few words from my side. Pega Constellation is not just UI upgrade, right? It's a fundamental shift how applications are designed and delivered, and also the power of single page applications, where I can actually imagine the whole page was refreshing whenever that we wanted to do something. Now without that, that's why it is faster, responsive, right? And also to speed up development, focus on the business processes and your logic rather than scratching your head in terms of building the UI and all those things, right? So you can focus, the developers can focus on creating your processes and whatever that is required for the business, right? So that's a great stuff. So I think that's a wrap up on today's session on Pega Constellation. So thank you very much, Shekhar, for sharing your insights. I think
Thanks, Manju.
we covered the benefits, the shift in application development, the UI application development, the options, the architecture, the adoption strategies, and also the migration assistant accelerator. And also, I think my promise, right? So we need to do one session on how to
Sure,
create
Manju.
custom DX components, and also, if you can show up the SDK installation on the other websites, etc. Right? So so thanks for joining, team. So if you have any questions or need guidance on your constellation journey, feel free to reach out. So Shaker's coordinates are getting displayed on the screen. So please make a note on his number and email ID. You can directly reach out. So looking forward to working together if there is anything that we can help you on your constellation journey. So next time we will focus on how to create a DX component or SDK customization or configuration. So until then, take care. So have a great day. Thank you very much, Shekhar, for joining.
Thank you. Thanks, Manju.